This is internationally best-selling indie author Michael Brent Collings inviting you to join me at bestsellerlife.com/DCR to unlock my tips, tricks, and hacks for a successful writing career. So go to bestsellerlife.com/DCR and kickstart your writing adventure today.
This is Daniel.
And this is Krebs.
This is Alton.
And I am Matai.
And you're listening to Dungeon Crawlers Radio, the greatest geek podcast out there. All right, everyone, welcome to another episode of Dungeon Crawlers, where we are together once again. In this episode, we're going to talk a little bit about Dungeons and Dragons, but more importantly, questions regarding the game as a GM or game master or DM as a dungeon master, whatever you want to call it. So I have Damien on with me. Both of us have been game masters before, and so we're going to dive into these questions and talk about some of these things. So hopefully you'll enjoy this episode. So the first question I'm going to throw out there, and you can definitely answer and throw out your own response, is what is your favorite thing to do in D&D or any tabletop role-playing game?
Well, I definitely like... How should I put this? I definitely like taking the story that I already have and weaving the players' either choices or backstories into it.
Mm-hmm.
It gets them more involved. It gets them... I had this one campaign where I accidentally made one of my players kind of like the main character because he just gave me so much to work with. And he still talks about it. Like anytime we hang out, it's oh, remember when you did this? So it's extremely memorable on their side, but it just seeing their reactions in the moment, it's great.
Yeah, no, I agree. Wrapping those things in definitely bring a lot of value to the game and to the players. It allows them to have a lot more fun, and when they know that something they've created, like their backstory or their actions, is adding to the story. I know a lot of people think, okay, D&D is just a game where the dungeon master, the game master, is just telling a story and we're just kind of going along for the ride. But the truth is, in this type of game, you're actually adding to the story and adding to the game and changing and manipulating it, even though the game master or dungeon master has an idea of where the story's going. You still have a voice and can dictate where that story goes. One of the things that I really enjoy doing, besides using the backstory like you suggested, is putting my players into a moral quandary or a dilemma where they really have to make a decision or make a choice, and sometimes they're not always the greatest. For example, this week we were just playing a session and the players had to choose between two NPCs to save, but they could only save one. And by choosing the other, it meant the death of the other. And it was quite interesting to see that unanimously everyone chose this other player.
Yeah, I was shocked. I thought it was going to be more of a
tug
debate.
of war. Yeah. But, the question is, was that the right choice? We won't know until we play again. But, and then another story I've used often when I've talked on panels or even when on the show is there was a guy that was playing a paladin, very strict paladin. And this is back in the old rules where it wasn't oath-based. It was God-based, and they were extremely lawful good. And this paladin accidentally let loose a lich who attacked a nearby town. And the player himself was so invested in this character that he couldn't play for 2 weeks. Like, he just like, I don't know what to do. Like, it was like this emotional breakdown. And not that I want to have anyone have an emotional breakdown, but that was just how invested and how hard this dilemma, this decision hit when he's like, I don't know what to do with my character anymore, because now I've just caused pain and suffering to this entire town by my action. So, yeah, I enjoy stuff like that. All right, let's move to the next question. What is one thing you've always wanted to do in D&D, but have never been able to and would really like to do?
So I kind of started to do this, but then hit a roadblock, and then everybody had lives, so it never ended up going anywhere. Um, I want to make my own homebrew setting. It's difficult. There's so much that goes into it. So what mine kind of was, it was a little bit based on a isekai anime where like you start out as someone in the real world, and then through something that happens, you get transported to the fantasy world. But so the setting that I had created, everyone has magic. So magic is just mundane and everyone has it. So I let my players take a magic initiate feat at the beginning. And it worked out really well, but it went off the rails. And then, yeah, so I'd really like to go back to do that, and or just create a whole new homebrew setting.
Nice. Oh, I have done that. My homebrew setting exists. It takes up 2 very large Rubbermaid totes.
Yeah, I bet.
Lots of binders, lots of maps, lots of magical items and things that I've created for that world. That started in 2nd edition. It moved to 3rd edition, but it's never made it beyond that. So I would definitely have to update it a little bit, but it's fun. It's fun to create your own world. It's fun to create your own rule set and stuff like that. So if you ever had the chance, definitely do it. For me, one thing I've always wanted to do in D&D but have never been able to, and this is something that I have participated in, is several years ago I was playing in a group, and we had to defend a city against a massive army. And so it was me and the other players, and the DM had a guest player come in with his, and he was the general of this evil army that was besieging us, and he controlled the army. He made the selections, and the DM was just there to make sure all the rules were met and that. And we had to defend against it, and it was amazing. We had built so he had built an entire city, buildings and everything. This massive this massive tower in the middle, which also had a bell on it, and it allowed you to see over the city walls. We had city walls and gates we were defending, and we had to decide. He gave us 15 minutes to decide where we were going to set up as our characters, where we were going to place the troops of the city, and he gave us so many. And then once that was over, it was time for the army to attack, and we had to defend against it. And in the beginning, we were like, oh my gosh, we're going to die. But amazingly enough, we ended up winning.
So you essentially played Warhammer 40K in D&D.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much kind of like that.
Interesting.
And I know there was a big event that was down at a mall that they did this massive D&D campaign, and I think there was like over 1,000 people, and they did something. I mean, they didn't have the city so that you could see it visually, but they did something very similar to that, where they had all of these people, and people were captains and generals and and infantry and stuff like that. So there was a group, I think each table had like 15 players at it. And
That's crazy.
And they were a squad, and they were doing their things, and their roles affected things. I didn't get to participate, but I've heard about it, and it was just amazing. But
Interesting.
I don't think I could do anything on that scale, but what we
Probably
did
not.
that day was so fun, and I would really like to try to do that in a campaign of my own. Because, you know, when you're playing at the table, it's fun to see, you know, when you're attacking, you know, the battles. Everyone loves the battles. Everyone loves the fights. But to have one on such a grand scale where you're in an entire massive city, and this, let me try to put the scale of this city. It was 8 6-foot-long tables put together, and the city sat on top of that. So fairly large.
6 foot, 40. That's crazy.
Yeah. So very large city. It wasn't small. There was multiple levels, so it wasn't just all flat. There were levels where it went up, and then there were buildings on top of that level. So there was like small hills and stuff like that inside. The tower itself, I think, stood 2.5 feet tall, roughly.
Oh,
So, I mean, that was a really large tower compared to our little figures.
yeah.
And we had a guy up there that was just sniping people with spells and things like that. And so it was amazing. It wasn't D&D. Now that I'm thinking about it, it was, what was it called? Iron something. Yeah.
No clue.
I yeah, after we do this, I'll remember it. Again, it's a tabletop game, not D&D, because we did have guns. It was very Warhammer-ish. Oh my goodness, I am
Iron Sworn?
no.
Nope.
I have the book on my on my. I'm gonna have to grab that. Hold on, just one moment.
While he's doing that, I'm Googling to see if I can find it. Iron
It is Iron
Bound?
Kingdoms. Iron Kingdoms.
Iron Kingdoms.
Yes.
Interesting.
So a really fun game. So that's what we were playing in. So like I was a swashbuckling pirate that, you know, I could fight with my sword. I had my pistols. I had some magical abilities.
Oh, this looks interesting.
Yeah, it's a really cool game system. It's really fun. But that's what we did it in. But to convert that over to D&D would be really fun to play that type of a scenario where I build a huge city. I mean, again, like the city we're in right now, in the campaign we're running, that would be really fun to have a massive battle. But I don't have the stuff for it. So
Fair.
yeah, so that is something that I would like to do.
A massive siege-based campaign episode? I don't know. That would be really cool.
Yeah,
Adventure. There we go.
yeah. Where like each of the players is like, okay, you are the commander of this squad. You know, and this is you.
Fire Emblem.
Yeah, kind of like that. But on top of that, like this, there are 4 gates. And, you know, you and your squad are to defend this gate and prevent the army from coming in. You know, and this one, you're in charge, you know, you're in charge of the east gate, you're the south gate, you're the north gate, you're the west gate. You other two, you're support. Your squad is to support anywhere is needed. You know, and then, all right, which one of you is going to be like, you know, the high commander that's barking off the orders? You know,
Interesting.
I think that would be a lot of fun. You know, and your squad, I mean, they wouldn't be small squads, obviously. You probably have 30 or 40 people underneath you, but what happens with your squad influences what happens in the city. You know, if someone really messes up and one of the gates falls, you know, then the besieging armies changes tactics. Now they've got an open entry, so they're going to be flooding through there. And now what do you do? It just sounds like lots of fun.
I know one of the players for our current campaign that would actually really love that.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
it's an idea floating in the back of my head, but how do we do it?
That's neat.
Yeah.
That's neat.
All right. So the next question: what is your number one pet peeve in D&D or role playing?
I gotta say it's a tie between people who aren't really involved, like they're there just to be there, they don't actually want to play,
Mm-hmm.
or rules lawyers.
Okay.
So sometimes rules lawyers are all right. Like if it's a, hey, based on the way this rule is, does that mean this? But it's the people who are like, actually, this is this, and as the DM, you're just sitting there like, just let me rule of cool it, my guy. Like, back off. You're not running it. If you want to run it, run your own thing. So realistically, probably getting undermined in a way that removes the fun from the game.
Gotcha. For me, it tends to be those people that detract from the game. You know, those that are
Fair.
a part of the group, but not a part of the group, if that makes sense. You know, those players that are making actions and doing things that actually countermands what the players are doing, or makes things worse for them, or just isn't pulling their weight. You
The
know,
ones that are not only useless, but actively antagonistic.
yeah, I mean, it's kind of one of the biggest reasons that
Yeah.
I have come to dislike bards. You know, there's the one example or the last show we did together with that bard that had those war drums that made it so the rest of the players couldn't do anything until they were attacked. You know, why would you do that? Why would you make it so that your companions can't do anything? Like, there was one time they went into a group of goblins, and I think I talked about this. And there would have been a great chance to do a sneak attack and be able to take out a good group, a good bunch of these goblins here. Well, no, he started playing his drums. They couldn't do a thing. And because he started playing the drums, the goblins knew that they were there and started attacking him. And they took a lot of damage before they could do anything. And it's that type of mentality that's frustrating. Yeah, another group that I played with, there was one player that he just wanted everything. And so there was a halfling character, I think he was a halfling character, that was running to grab treasure. Well, this other guy was on a horse, and he wanted it before him, so he just trampled over the halfling. And it's like, dude, that was your companion. He's like, well, I wanted it. Really?
Well, I had a game like that. It was actually the first game that I played for more than about a year. I was a player, and we had this one guy who the paladin rules had just changed, and so he was playing a dragonborn paladin, and he had a little bit of superiority complex. And so he would constantly take my character, who was a ranger, and just throw me into the middle of things because I was annoying. I was 10. I was 12? 10, 12. I was around that age. So I was a kid. But he would just like open a door, see a whole bunch of things, and be like, okay, I grabbed the ranger. And because his strength was so much higher, he'd just pick me up, and then he'd throw me in the room.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, not only are you, the tank, throwing the squishy backliner in the middle of everything, but then after that, because I was the damage dealer, when I'm unconscious and bleeding on the ground, now you guys are struggling to fight anything.
Yeah.
And it was constant. It got to the point where I actually used his character as one of the BBEGs in a campaign I ran.
Nice.
That was entertaining, but
Very nice. So,
Yeah.
as a DM, do you prefer doing something like a huge overall overarching campaign, or do you prefer something more episodic? Like, okay, for this week or this time frame, this is our episode, and that's all we're doing. And if we decide to move on and do another episode, we'll do that. Or do you like the overarching campaign that seems to go on forever, but there is an ultimate goal when you get there?
See, that one for me, it completely depends on the players that I have. Because there are some people who are heavily invested, and so it's like, okay, I know they're into it, so I'm going to make this really long, like, it takes forever to do. It takes a year to finish this part of the story. But then you have some players that are like, they check out after one or two. So honestly, for me, it really depends on the player. So what I like to do is I like to have a little self-contained bit at the very beginning that takes 4, 5, maybe 6 sessions to get an idea of what my players are. And then from there, if they're very, okay, we need fast drama action every time, it's okay, episode here, episode here, episode here, that builds up to something. But if I have players that are like, okay, we're locked in, I can leave cliffhangers. I can have it be this one long, to use TV show, season that just feels like one day. So it really depends.
Okay. Well, I mean, you already know my answer probably.
Yeah.
I love the large overarching campaigns with multiple storylines all weaving throughout things. Episodes are fun, but I feel like those are more kind of like, you know, like what they used to do, the encounters, where it's just like, here you go, here's your encounter. Once it's done, we're out. I do like those when it's like, hey, a bunch of friends just want to get together. We just want to play once because we haven't played in a while, and it's a one shot. And I've done those, a couple of those. There was one time I was at a local convention, and a bunch of author friends of mine are like, hey, this buddy of mine has never played D&D before. We really want to play. Would that be possible? And I'm like, hey, yeah, let's do it. I'm like, I don't have any D&D rules with me, but I have my Firefly rule set with me, and it's pretty easy to learn, and we could play that. And we did. We got together, and it was so much fun. They ended up on a planet, and there were Reavers. Well, I mean, everyone's afraid of Reavers. But there was this, they were on a quest to go save some kids, and one of the other players, like, killed a couple of guys. They were sentries, and he decides to skin one of them. I mean, it's like, why are we doing this? And then he puts it on, kind of like an Edgar suit. And so it ends pretty much, you know, they've saved the child, they're there with the town, and the town is happy, and they see him walk out in this skin suit, and someone yells, Reavers! And, of course, the entire town turns around and just opens fire on this guy.
Fair enough.
Needless to say, he did not survive. But, again, that was still fun.
Memorable.
And everyone remembers it. And they still tell stories about it. I mean, he's in his 20s now, but when he played, he was only like 9 or 10. This kid, it was one of my friend's sons. And so, you know,
I'm sorry, a 9-year-old chose to skin an enemy and wear it?
Well, to be fair, if you knew who his dad was, it would make total sense.
Okay.
Yeah. But I don't want to give away names. But again, even those one-shot episodes are fun. But for me, I really like the overarching story. I like the multiple storylines I'm weaving. And it really comes down to the author, the writer in me. So it is
Fair.
a lot of fun, and why I enjoy that. But again, even those episodes are fun. They are great. And I think you are right. It does have a lot to do with your group. If you have a group that can play and enjoy those long stories, that's great.
Do it.
But do it. If not, you have character or players that have a much shorter attention span and they're not really into playing that long game, do an episode. Something that's more episodic, and see if they buy in. And if they do, you can do another episode and another. I think that formula works for those type of players, because it's like, oh, okay, there is an end goal here. This is done. But there's enough of a hook. If I want to play again, I can.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, those are our questions we're going to go over. Hopefully you guys enjoyed those. If you do have any questions you want to send back to us, definitely send them our way. You can always get us on social media. Look up Dungeon Crawlers Radio, or look up our website, dungeoncrawlersradio.com, and you can email us through that. But hopefully this has been informative. Maybe we've given you some ideas, but we'd love to hear from you guys as well. So with that said, we'll catch you next time.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to the podcast. If you like this episode, please give us a 5-star rating on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you find us.
Remember, the Force will be with you, always.
What happens when modern magic, high-tech weaponry, and an unstoppable dragon collide? Find out in the epic audiobook of A Dragon's Fate, brought to life by Daniel and Krebs. This Whitney Award finalist novel will pull you into a pulse-pounding world where a secret cabal battles for power, and a dragon could bring everything to an explosive end. Don't just hear the story. Feel the magic, the danger, and the action. Get ready for a ride you won't forget. Grab your copy of A Dragon's Fate, now available on Audible.